Hello there, welcome to our HTML tutorial series. Today we're going to do a very first, most basic exercise, which is to create a blank white page that says Hello World right in the middle. It's about as basic as it gets, but it will give you a ton of information. This should only take about 5 or 10 minutes of your time, so stick around and let's get it. All right, the first thing we need to do is install a code editor in your computer. There are quite a few code editor options. Some are free and some are commercial, paid. I don't think you need to go with a commercial option at this point. I would recommend just something free. If you don't have a preference, I would recommend Visual Studio Code, which is what I have installed, but you can use anything else. If you need to install Visual Studio Code, all you got to do is open a browser, type download Visual Studio Code, and it will return you the actual download page link and the home page link. If you go to download, you have the you'll be given the options to install based on your computer's operating system. So go ahead and take care of that now, and we'll see you soon. Okay, so just assuming you have that installed, go ahead and start Visual Studio Code. It will prompt you to this welcome page. Click on New File, and now we're going to create a new file. I'm going to call it Hello World, and I'm going to end it with .html. I would say from this point on forward, please try to be perfect in spelling and syntax as much as possible. If I'm telling you to save a file and then in .html, please do it. Make sure you don't misspell HTML or do it differently, but at your own leisure. Please try to be as accurate as possible. Okay, I'm gonna save it to my desktop, and here's the file. Right now there's nothing in it. Okay, there's nothing. So the very first thing that you need to have on every single HTML file is you need to have a set of HTML tags. You need to have a starting HTML tag, and you need to have an ending one. This editor will automatically generate a closing tag for you. Closing tags are exactly the same as a starting opening tag, except that there is a little front slash. Okay, so just remember from this point forward, make sure you are not only syntactically correct, don't make any spelling errors, do it everything exactly as it's supposed to be. And for HTML, make sure that you always have an opening tag and a closing tag for everything. Every HTML tag that you have in your file should have an opening tag and a closing tag, with a few exceptions, which we will we'll talk about later down the road. Now that I have a set of HTML tags, I'm also going to create a head tag, and I'm also going to create a body tag. Now, make sure that your code is properly formatted. What do I mean? You see, these tags are actually nested inside the opening and the closing of the HTML tag, right? So because these set of tags are nested inside, I want to make sure that these tags are indented. This is the proper way of doing it. I indented them with a tab. Okay, and just as we have indented these tags that are nested inside HTML, anything that I type inside body or anything inside head will also need to be indented. Okay, so this is how we nest code. Now inside body, I'm gonna add an H1 or heading 1 tag. And here I'm gonna type hello world. Okay, notice that this coding editor is doing a pretty good job of automatically creating closing tags for you. Okay, so it automatically created this H1 closing tag. And again, I just want to stress for the final time, every tag in your HTML document should have an opening and closing tag. I know I got to keep mentioning this until we get nauseated from it. Okay, so now I have this. I'm going to save the file. Now I'm going to go to this HTML file that I created. I'm going to open it with Google Chrome. If you don't have Google Chrome installed on your computer, just install it. It's a good browser for developer purposes. Okay, and here it is, hello world. I can make changes to it. I'm gonna add 3 exclamations and I'm gonna save it. Now I saved it, right? It doesn't mean it automatically displays it. You need to refresh the page. Here it is. Okay, not bad, we're doing good, pretty easy, right? This is about the most basic type of exercise that you can do in HTML. It's going to get progressively more difficult. Okay, so I talked about wanting to display the words hello world on a web page, but I want it to be centered. I want it to be centered vertically and horizontally. Making this center horizontally, it's much easier than vertically. Let's do horizontally first. So inside the H1 tag, okay, I'm going to add a space. I'm going to type the words style equals. And once again, this code editor was smart enough to automatically create a closing quote. Okay, see? There's quotes in between. This is non-negotiable. You gotta have quotes in between. Okay, and I'm gonna type text dash align. Oops, gotta be perfect in spelling. Colon, center, semicolon. These characters, semicolon, colon. This is required. You gotta have it. Do not misspell this. Okay, like it can be like this. In fact, if you do it this way, the code editor will be smart enough to alert you that, hey, you're doing it unexpectedly. Look, okay, colon expected. Okay, it's expecting a colon, not a semicolon, and it's going to give you a little squiggly red line. Okay, anyway, so I'm going to change this back to colon, and now we're good. I'm going to save the file once again. Now let's refresh the page and see what happens. Boom, right in the middle. Okay, so again, centering this horizontally, it's fairly easy. You just have to add this command. Okay, style equals, in double quotes, text align, colon, center, semicolon. You have to be perfect. You gotta have an opening opening quote and a closing quote. Okay, you gotta have the words text align with a dash in the middle. You gotta be perfect on it. Now let's try to center this vertically. Okay, there's a couple of ways to do this. I'm gonna show you one way. Okay, and this is one of the easiest ways in my opinion, but it requires that you have 2 sets of commands or properties in there. Okay, you got to do position. Oops. Again, you got to be perfect in spelling. Position, colon, relative. semicolon. So that's one thing you gotta have in there. Now, just to show you how one thing is not enough, I'm gonna save the file. I'm gonna refresh it. See, it didn't do anything. I gotta have two things in there. I gotta do position relative. I also gotta enter top colon 50% semicolon. Oops. What this is essentially what this is doing is it's telling the web page to display the words "Hello World" from 50% of the height from the top of the margin of the browser. See, this is the browser window, right? It's telling it to display the words "Hello World" at 50% of the overall height down. Okay, just save this. I'm not explaining this too well. My apologies. Let me refresh this. See, 50%. So 100% is the entire height of the page size, and it's saying, hey, display this at approximately 50% of the way down. So in other words, let's say I change this to 10%. It's gonna put a margin of 10% of the overall page height. Get it? Just like here, if I put this to 90%, it's gonna push 90% of the way down. 90% out of 100, okay? But we wanna put it back to 50. And here it is. This is what we wanted to accomplish in today's lesson. We wanted to display the words "Hello World," dead center in the middle. Okay. Now, a couple of things. There's so many things to learn, but one thing to keep in mind. You see these three properties that I added. It doesn't matter what the order is. I can put top 50% in the beginning. I can put this position relative here in the beginning. It doesn't matter one bit, okay? HTML will not care what the position is. But what it does care is for the syntax. See, these are three properties, right? And see how they're separated by a semicolon. Okay, this is non-negotiable. You gotta have this separated by semicolons, okay? Okay, let's do one more thing, okay? Because we still have a little bit of time. You see here at the top of this tab where it says hello world.html. Where the heck did this come from? Okay, this is the name of the file, actually, hello world, right? .html. But this looks kind of weird. Doesn't look proper. If we want to customize what it says here, we need to add a title tag. The title tag will be nested inside a head tag. Okay. Hello, this is me. Okay, look at that. I'm gonna save it. Just like this. Now, remember, the title tag was nested inside the head. Now, I kept telling you guys to indent this, right? What happens if you don't? Let's say if I do this. Will it still work? Yeah, it will still work, actually. Okay? So this formatting stuff that I'm telling you to do it doesn't really seem that significant at first because you only have so many lines of code. But imagine an HTML file that has 1,000 lines, okay? Just for an organization standpoint, making sure that everything is formatted will help you understand immediately that, this title tag is nested inside head, which is nested inside HTML, okay? So it becomes a lot more advantageous for you down the road to have good customs. So one good custom that I told you about is to indent your tags, right? The other thing that I told you is making sure that every tag has an opening tag and a closing tag. And the closing tag is differentiated by this front slash, right? Look what would happen if I didn't do this. Will it still work? Will this still work? It does, right? I can even do this. Okay, but again, this is such a small file, okay? And once you start working with larger files, code formatting and proper syntax will go a long way. So just for good practice, make sure you do all that. All right. Oh, here's a head tag that I missed. Okay, well, this is all I have for today. It was a fairly easy exercise, and we'll progressively start getting a little bit more into the more complex exercises. Until next time, take care. Bye.